Este año las jornadas, como os he dicho, están dedicadas a las edades. ¿Por qué? Porque si a lo largo de estas 5 ediciones hemos trabajado los aspectos de la música y neurología, es decir, de la musicoterapia, en enfermedades de trastornos psicológicos, mentales, en la salud en general, todo ello es transversal en todas las personas cuando hablamos de edades, sea cual sea tu circunstancia, tu situación social, mental, psicológica, profesional. Tienes una edad y sea cual sea tu edad, la música puede estar en ti. También nos gustará, añado, porque tenemos todavía algún minutito para empezar, añado o para seguir, que nos gustaría mucho saber a través del chat desde dónde estáis conectados. Manresa, Bages, Cataluña, Madrid, España, aquí estamos. Desde Marruecos, Mediterráneo, aquí estamos. Todas aquellas personas que estéis conectados con nosotros ahora mismo, nos gustará y aplaudiremos vuestro esfuerzo, no solo tecnológico, sino real. Por decisión propia habéis decidido ahora mismo compartir estos minutos con nosotros. Gracias, porque gracias a vosotros estamos aquí, no solo por los profesionales que organicemos esto, que impulsemos, los que están acudiendo a esta llamada y todos los profesionales que estáis haciendo como ponentes, conferenciantes, talleristas. Todo ello no es posible ni tiene sentido si no hay un público que no deja de formar parte de ese círculo de personas que siempre estamos conectados. Vamos intercambiando roles, pero todas las personas, cada una de vosotras, sois necesarias en este círculo. Por lo tanto, gracias por hacer paréntesis en vuestra realidad personal y profesional para estar con nosotros. Muchas gracias. Recordamos que estas jornadas no solo son un camino de profesión, de acercamiento a esas ventanas de experiencia desde la profesionalidad, sino también una ventana hacia la reflexión que no tiene adjetivos de menos reflexión o más reflexión. Cada una de las reflexiones vuestras son necesarias e importantes. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Todo esto será una reflexión, un diálogo más allá de lo que duran estas jornadas. Por eso, repito e insisto, cualquier consulta, aportación, idea, cualquier comentario será siempre bienvenido más allá de hoy, viernes 13 de noviembre de 2020 o mañana, sábado 14. Serán necesarias vuestras aportaciones y las podéis compartir con nosotros a través de la dirección de correo que ya he dicho antes y os vuelvo a repetir, info@esmuc.cat o llamas directamente a musicoterapia master@esmuc.cat. Sabemos que todas las personas que estáis ahí escuchando y compartiendo este rato con nosotros sois personas y profesionales o simplemente simpatizantes, pero del mundo de la educación, del mundo de la sanidad, del mundo del artístico, del mundo intelectual, de la calle, del supermercado, de donde seas. Es igual, eres una persona y todos necesitamos como personas estar alimentados no solo desde el cuerpo, sino hacia nuestro espíritu con las artes y más en concreto este año volvemos, y recuerdo, con la música. La música, y más que nunca este año que lo hacemos abriendo nuestras fronteras más allá de Cataluña y de España, lo hacemos con la música. Es el lenguaje universal que te toca incluso aspectos que nunca podrás verbalizar, que te remueve emociones que nunca podrás racionalizar. Eso es la música. Y con esa mirada de la música para que sea terapia y haciendo musicoterapia, nunca olvidar esa emoción de la música. Estas son las jornadas que empezamos y estaremos todos juntos compartiendo. Gracias otra vez, emocionadas por el tiempo que estamos viviendo. Gracias y empecemos. Como nos ha dicho Melissa, damos paso, 2 minutos adelantados, pero oye, esto ya no es puntualidad alemana, es puntualidad barcelonesa. Empezamos, si es correcto y os parece bien, con la doctora Suzanne Hanser, como nos ha dicho Melissa. Ella es fundadora del Departamento de Musicoterapia de Berklee School of Music y presidenta de la Asociación Internacional de Música y Medicina. Thank you, Susan. When you want, welcome. Primero pinchamos vídeo. Susan, ¿te parece bien? Ok, Adrián, cuando quieras, vídeo entra.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Hanser, but I like to introduce myself with music. So please take a moment to just settle back and listen. This is my Native American flute. I'll just improvise a few bars and allow yourself to close your eyes if you like, to go inward and notice what happens as you listen, and see if you want to transport yourself to a beautiful place in your imagination. Just notice where the music takes you. So take a nice deep breath. Exhale any tension, any thoughts you don't need right now, and focus on the music. Go inward and enjoy. Take a nice deep breath. Savor any good thoughts or feelings that came about, maybe some images. And then exhale anything you don't need. Well, in that very short excerpt, perhaps you noticed that there's some changes in your heart rate. Maybe you went to some beautiful places in your mind's eye. There might have been associations or memories you had. And music can do this for us immediately, very quickly, and almost automatically. So let me share some stories of people who have been struggling during this time of COVID-19. One gentleman had a particularly severe case. He was hospitalized, and indeed medically induced coma was indicated for a respirator, and he was intubated. He remained on the respirator for 21 days. Fortunately, his wife came to the center just once. He could not meet her, of course, but she left the medical personnel with a set of playlists of his very favorite music, and music that was very meaningful to him. When he did finally awaken from that medically induced coma and recover, thankfully, from COVID-19, he reported that music kept him alive. He said that through his nightmares during that time of coma, he was very much aware of what was going on musically, and he could tell you exactly which pieces came in which order and what moods they induced. He created a dreamscape of music to get him through this very difficult time. Another woman struggling with something all of us have, living in a very small apartment with 2 children and her husband. The stress between them became quite intolerable. And she said, one day, I just could not bear hearing him plucking out the keys of the computer. And she retired to her room, distraught. But she had created a playlist, and music therapists are aware of the ISO principle, the need to match your mood with music that speaks to you directly. You're not going to whistle a happy tune and expect to change that great distress. But if you match the mood, there's this connection with the music. And she found that she was listening to things like It's Not Me, It's You by Skillet, All I Really Want by Alanis Morissette. And those spoke to her. That's how she felt. Gradually, she changed the music until it was things like Something Happened on the Way to Heaven by Phil Collins and Still the One by Orleans. And so gradually, her mood entrained to the mood of this changing playlist until she could reemerge and give patience not only to her husband, but to her children, and self-compassion to herself. Still another woman was scheduled to undergo some surgery. And of course, she had to do this alone during this COVID era. She is in Serbia, and she was very frightened because she had a lot of conditions like asthma and cardiac condition that concerned her greatly when she was going under anesthetic. She says, the night before the procedure, I dived into a sound world of music meditations, including a self-written song of peace and gratitude. I woke up refreshed on my way to the hospital. Right until entering the OR, I had my power songs in my earpods. Miracle by Whitney Houston, Hold On by Wilson Phillips, Through the Storm by Yolanda Adams, and Hero by Mariah Carey. Needless to say, the procedure not only went amazingly well, but upon waking up, I was belting the power song lines and singing Miracle and Hero from the bottom of my heart. And I was covered in overall feeling of joy and happiness to be alive. Well, those dramatic stories are really quite something, but it raises the question, what's going on inside us to connect us so deeply to music? So I'd like to share with you a presentation and to have you look at the brain. This is a graphic by a wonderful neuroscientist, Daniel Levitin, and he wrote Your Brain on Music. And you see from this slide how many areas of the brain are activated, from the corpus callosum, which connects the hemispheres, to the cerebellum, which helps us tap our toes and dance to the music, the amygdala deep inside the brain, and almost, well, indeed, I think every area of the cortex in general can be activated by musical behavior. The superior temporal gyrus is where it starts. That is where the auditory association center and cortex resides. And deep within, we see vast systems of neural pathways from the prefrontal cortex to the insula, which is one of the centers of reward. And music activates this pathway in particular. There are other pathways, again, from the prefrontal cortex as we analyze that music. The next area is the ventral tegmental area. And this is in the midline of the floor of the midbrain. It's very vital in the dopaminergic pathways, releasing reward circuitry and moving right to the nucleus accumbens, which is one of the centers of reward. From there, the ACC is the anterior cingulate cortex, and that is implicated in empathy and emotion, even decision-making, and then to the thalamus, the relay station of the brain, to activate our responses to this music. So that's just one vital area. But what's really happening with people who are able to express themselves through music? Well, I'd like to tell you about a man, 46-year-old man, who was admitted to Boston Medical Center and fortunately had the benefit of a music therapist, Dr. Maria Hernandez. He came in with thrombosis, and this is the blood clots in the blood vessels, causing lymphedema, swelling throughout his body, immense pain, and days of diagnostic workshops. So Dr. Hernandez, the music therapist, who is board certified, by the way, which is the certification to practice in the United States, had some goals. Help him with this pain, help him reduce his anxiety, give him a mode of self-expression, and allow him to find some meaning in this hospitalization where, indeed, some of the symptoms are similar to what many of us are experiencing now during the COVID era. He felt isolated. There was a sense of uncertainty about the future, and he was suffering with anxiety, not knowing his diagnosis, not knowing what the future would bring. With the help of Dr. Maria Hernandez, he created this song called The Music Within the Noise, and I think it speaks to us at this time. I've noted the words that he created, and you'll hear him. He was a guitarist, and we brought him a guitar so that he could create this lovely song. This is his original, The Music Within the Noise.
My life right now is pretty much on hold. My time is spent waiting to leave. I feel stuck on an island, watching others sail by, their lives moving forward, and I'm still standing by, trying to find the music within the noise, behind the echo storm, a calm inside the tension, and peace inside the war.
So I hope you see that some of these themes, as part of his existential journey to find some meaning in what he was going through, was quite profound. The music within the noise, a message for all of us, I think, at this time. So what does the research say? Well, I want to share with you a randomized control trial that I conducted several years ago, actually some decades ago now, which began a whole research agenda to look at the role of music therapy for stress and pain management. And I worked with 30 older adults who had depressive disorders. They had mild or moderate levels of depression. And they were homebound, just as we are now. So this is a protocol which is quite relevant. In 8 weeks, one group had home visits from me, and I worked with them as a music therapist. This 8-week protocol was followed by another group that just had, well, never met me, but just had phone calls from me and a set of instructions as to the protocol. And we compared these music groups with those who had no contact with me and no added music intervention, no added intervention at all. We looked at the state trait anxiety inventory, a profile of mood states, brief symptom inventory, and the geriatric depression scale. And in 8 weeks, these older adults learned all sorts of ways to use music, from moving to music, doing a facial massage, using music to cue a rhythmic muscle relaxation, guided imagery, problem solving through relaxing to the music. And each week they practiced one of these techniques. The results were rather dramatic. There were significant differences between the music groups that you see with these circles, the dark being the self-administered on their own, never met the music therapist, and this is the home-based condition. 9 months after these changes, which were significantly different than the group that had no contact with the triangles here, and this is the geriatric depression scale. 9 months later, the group that worked independently, self-administered music, they improved even more 9 months later. And there were maintenance of gains in the group that had the home visits with the music therapist. Here's the profile of mood states. The more anxious you are, the lower the score. So these groups started out quite anxious, while the control group stayed relatively stable. Anxiety went more to the composed end of this scale. And you see maintenance of gains and a whopping change to the good in the composed element of this mood scale for those who worked alone. There were statistically significant differences between the music and the control group on all measures. And there were clinically significant changes in depression. That is, when these folks were compared with a non-depressed sample of elders, they more closely resembled that group than a depressed sample, and maintenance of gains, even improvement over 9 months later. So that's a whirlwind tour of music-based interventions and music therapy that I hope you'll find relevant for this time. But again, I'd like to end with music, a finale by Chopin's Waltz. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, Susan. Es un vídeo precioso, beautiful video. Thank you a lot. Os repito, os recuerdo que todas las preguntas que queráis hacer mientras hay la intervención del ponente es cuando las podéis ir escribiendo en el chat. Todas las preguntas que puedan haber a continuación, como no, al menos no he sabido ver ninguna, las podéis ir haciendo ahora mismo. Mientras tanto, solo comentaros para ir recordando que muchas gracias y estamos viendo las geografías desde donde estáis conectados. Reus, Mallorca, Sants en Barcelona, Getafe, Tenerife, desde el Bruc, Salamanca, Valladolid, desde Mallorca, Ses Illes, Gavà, Granada, Córdoba, Jaén, desde La Rioja, desde Gelida, desde Cardedeu, gracias María, muchas gracias. Desde Medina del Campo, Bilbao, adelante todos y adelante con vuestras preguntas. Melissa, si quieres hacer tú directamente alguna pregunta a Susan, adelante. Thank you a lot, Susan. Now the questions.
Thank you, Susan, for the beautiful exposition and very, very general and at the same time broad overview of what music can
Sorry,
do.
Melissa, sorry, your video is closed. Please open your camera.
Now, I think it's on. It's on? Yes? Thank you.
It's on.
Thank you, Susan. I would like to ask if you would give any specific encouragement or any specific advice, I don't want to say encouragement, advice to music therapists who a lot of them right now are going through a difficult time because of the pandemic and the restrictions to go to centers to really work with patients. And you know, I would like to know your perspective on that, and what would be the message that you give to these professional music therapists?
Thank you. Thank you all very much for having me and supporting this virtual presentation. I want to first thank the organizers who have brought all of us together. And maybe many of you could not have come to Barcelona and participated in this, but here we are together in this virtual community. And there are advantages like that access. And as I described in my research of many years ago, being able to meet people who are homebound is possible if they have access to electronic means, even a telephone. This intervention for depressed elders was via telephone and a weekly telephone call and instructions given to them. And it was, as you saw, I think, quite effective in alleviating depression and anxiety and other symptoms. So I do want to offer encouragement, not just advice, that music therapists can reach out and see if they can offer their services virtually. The online music therapy community is quite active. The American Music Therapy Association has a whole list of resources to assist music therapists in providing their services online. And many constituents who would not have access to services are now taking advantage of a virtual music therapist. So this is possible. It does take coordination and obviously some means of communication. But beyond that, I think that we can reach people whom we've not been able to reach, who have not been able to come to clinics and hospitals and centers previously, but can, at least through a telephone and more ideally through a screen like this very platform. And we can create music. It's not the same. It's not the connection that we look for when we're able to physically touch someone. But for someone who doesn't have access to any resources, music therapists can truly be a lifeline.
Thank you so much.
Melissa, puedes ir haciendo pequeñas traducciones. Yo ya
sí.
tengo un par de preguntas por hacer.
Sí, ya veo que hay preguntas aquí. Bueno, lo que la doctora Hanser ha dicho es que, bueno, que ella anima a que se usen los recursos tecnológicos que tenemos. De hecho, el estudio que ella ha explicado en su presentación es de ya hace unos años, como habéis visto, y precisamente la intervención y el seguimiento se hizo todo a través de teléfono, ¿vale? Cuando las personas aún podrían ir directamente, pero que se hizo todo a través del teléfono. Y por tanto, los musicoterapeutas pueden seguir presentes, pueden seguir estando presentes en las vidas de las personas con necesidades, aunque tenga que ser de forma telemática. Ella ha mencionado, y quiero decirlo aquí, que la Asociación Americana de Musicoterapia tiene toda una serie de lista de recursos que se han recopilado de musicoterapeutas que han pasado a trabajar telemáticamente. Por lo tanto, vale la pena visitar la página web de esta asociación para ver qué es lo que se recomienda, qué es lo que se ha utilizado y con qué colectivos.
Melissa, me preguntan, por ejemplo, tengo 3 preguntas breves, te hago una, la traduces, ella responde y traduces, Primera, ¿dónde se puede ver publicado todo este estudio que ha hecho la señora Hanser, por favor?
Suzanne, would you write on the chat, please, if you can, or tell us the reference where your study is published, the magazine, and the whole reference, the journal? People are interested in accessing it.
Very good. I can certainly look that up. And also people can email me, shanser@berkeley.edu. And Berkeley is BERKLEE.edu.
Sí, al final de su vídeo habéis podido ver todo, si os habéis fijado, donde Suzanne Hanser precisamente firma su vídeo con su dirección de correo, y es lo que ahora nos estaba recordando, Hanser de Susan, Hanser@berkeley.edu. Berkeley es B de Barcelona, ERKLEE.edu. ¿Es así, Melissa? ¿Es esto?
Es así, sí,
Perfecto.
es así.
Otra pregunta que nos ha llegado. ¿Se han hecho en estos ejemplos que nos ha dado Susan, han habido estudios más allá de los 9 meses?
Another question for you, Suzanne, is if there was any follow-up beyond the 9 months follow-up that you mentioned in your study?
No, not beyond the 9 months, but of course, we were very fortunate that these individuals were affiliated with the Veterans Administration, so I was able to find them after 9 months, and this is, I was very pleased to be able to follow up with all of the participants in the study, but we did not go beyond 9 months.
No se evaluaron a los participantes más allá de los 9 meses, y dice que tuvieron mucha suerte porque las personas que participaron estaban registradas en el registro de veteranos y entonces no los perdieron, o sea que pudieron hacer un seguimiento muy detallado.
Bien, lo positivo de esto es que cualquiera de nuestros oyentes puede tomar impulso para seguir haciendo un estudio con los mismos casos, junto a la doctora Suzanne Hanser. Bien, otra persona nos pregunta a qué se refiere Suzanne Hanser cuando habla de masajes a través de la música.
Okay, another question. Can you explain a little bit the technique of massage through music?
Yes, we encouraged people to do a gentle facial massage because very often we are holding tension in our jaw, especially those of us that smile a lot in our work all day. and we hold tension in the jaw. And so just identifying that tightness and slowly, gently working out that tension in the jaw and moving up to the cheekbones and the temples, and just a very gentle massage can be very effective. And we can, first of all, identify any tension that might be residing. We go back to the neck and down to the shoulders. And this is the backpack of tension that so many of us feel. We hold our tension in our upper bodies. And so this can be done. And you can just massage your hands and your fingers and offer some comforting touch in this environment where we're not able to touch our loved ones outside of our household. This is so important. Get in touch with our bodies and give a self-massage. Just the face, I think, can make a difference. And then if you move to other parts of your body and offer that self-compassion, we're doing the best we can. And that self-talk and your favorite music and a gentle hug. That's my advice.
Bueno, creo que nos lo ha demostrado muy bien a qué se refiere con el masaje, y dice y acompañarlo con música relajante. Suzanne, I think you want to hear one of the participants' comments, and says, Suzanne, you look so beautiful. I'm sure it's because you are happy doing what you do. I cried a lot with your intervention. Thanks a lot.
That means a great deal to me. That's amazing. I really have made many friends around the world thanks to COVID-19, like all of you. And so I am very grateful that music can reach all of us during this time and always. So I am indeed very blessed to have music at my side and to be able to see how others can benefit from some very simple techniques and interventions.
Gracias por el comentario que había en el chat y dice que COVID le ha permitido hacer muchos amigos a nivel internacional y que sí, que está de acuerdo que tiene mucha suerte de tener la música en su vida y que la acompaña. Bueno, recordaros que el vídeo tendréis oportunidad de rever el vídeo, de ver el vídeo tantas veces como queráis, porque estará colgado a partir de la semana que viene, al menos media semana, ¿sí? Y podréis verlo y repasarlo tantas veces como queráis. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for the beautiful presentation. Thank you, thank you.
Gracias, Suzanne. Muchas gracias.